All right, Ken, I'm leaving. I'll be
Thank you.
behind. I'll be here.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is the Monday, July 6th, 2020 New Shoreham Town Council meeting, first meeting of the month. The New Shoreham Town Council is meeting via telecommunications pursuant to the State of Rhode Island Executive Order 2046 dated June 12th, 2020. Information has been posted on ClerkBase. We do have some people that will be involved with us in terms of participants. And there's information on ClerkBase as to how to listen to the meeting and if you want to participate. I'll remind everyone that I will be conducting the meeting from my position here. This is not an open meeting per se in terms of free speech. We will be expecting you to hit *6 or raise your hand on a computer if you wish to mute or unmute, and *9 to raise your hand or lower your hand if you're on the phone. And of course, if you're doing it via video, you can raise your hand and lower your hand via the controls there. If you are selected to speak, please speak your piece, and then after that point, you can mute yourself. And please do not feel free to chime in without raising your hand again. As I said, I'll be conducting the meeting from here. You will be muted. The first item on the agenda this evening, I'll point out that we do have the full town council here: Andre Buja, second warden; Christopher Willie, councilperson; Sven Reesum, councilperson; Martha Ball, councilperson. Interim town manager Jim Kern is with us, as well as town solicitor Catherine Marola, and the EMA directors. Dr. Warcup is here from the medical center, and the finance director Amy Lewis Land is with us also. First item on the agenda is actually the warden's report. We're in day 4 of what's been called a 4-day weekend for some, 4th of July weekend. The weather was very nice out here, but we had a lot of visitors to the island, as we usually do on the 4th of July, but it was not unlike any other in that there were no fireworks, official fireworks, and there was no parade. So things were a little bit tamer than usual in some cases. There was a lot of foolishness going on, I will point out. People who were walking, riding bikes, riding mopeds, driving cars, going to bars and whatnot. For the most part, were behaved, but there was some foolishness going on. Some of it was dangerous, but we did survive the weekend, and we hope that things will settle down a little bit for the rest of the summer so we can enjoy the rest of the summer. I appreciate all the work done by the town employees to prepare the island for this weekend, particularly the rec department, the harbors department, the road crew, the medical staff, the rescue squad, the fire department. Unfortunately, they were called on this weekend, did a yeoman's job. We thank them for their service. And so we'll move on. Andre, do you have anything, second warden report?
No, thank you. Not tonight.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is usually public input. Amy, do we have any public input that you have sent in? I'm sorry, Molly.
She's coming.
Okay.
Excuse me, there's an airplane in the background here. No public input that I haven't forwarded to you.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, so we'll move right along. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing. And that is the public hearing is the application of 54 Dodge Street, Block Island OpCo LLC, quote unquote, to amend the Town of New Shoreham zoning ordinance to add a new definition, accessory hotel room, quote unquote, to section 202, and to add a new use to 312 E and add a new section 407C, quote, standards in the Old Harbor Commercial District, unquote, regarding the development of hotels. We'll open the public hearing. We have some information that's been sent to us along these lines in reference to this proposal. We also have a memo from the planning board to the town council. The recommendation was that the application by 54 Dodge Street, Block Island OpCo LLC, Plat 6, Lot 123 and 131 regarding development of hotels. The proposed amendment would provide additional special use standards for hotels in the Old Harbor Commercial Zone. The proposal also creates accessory hotel room as a new use allowed by a special use permit, accessory to a hotel in the Old Harbor Commercial Zone. During its February 12, 2020 meeting, the planning board voted 3-3 and 0 regarding the providing a favorable recommendation for the above application to amend the zoning ordinance. We do have a narrative concerning their discussions on this ordinance. It's quite lengthy. I won't read it at this point. We also have a letter introducing it and explaining it from Attorney Joe Priestley, who I believe is on with us this evening. Joe, would you like to open with a brief synopsis of this? Go ahead. Need to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Ken. When people from Lark Hotels came to me to discuss their plans for the island, a really quick look at the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan showed a couple of things. One was that the comprehensive plan encouraged hotels in the Old Harbor Commercial District, and that it was one of the principal uses existing in the Old Harbor Commercial District, and it was allowed by special use permit in the Old Harbor Commercial District, subject to the criteria then set forth in section 407. And a quick look in the criteria set forth in 407 made it abundantly clear that although it was allowed by a special use permit in the Old Harbor Commercial District, it was impossible to build a hotel or to in either an existing or a dwelling or on an undeveloped piece of land. The only piece of land that satisfied the size requirement, which cannot be waived by the zoning board or varied by the zoning board, was the interstate navigation parking lot. And since the zoning board interprets new structure to mean any addition to an existing structure, there were no buildings of 40,000 square foot lots that could be used to create a hotel in an existing building. So we put together a proposal. They wanted to do some additional development, especially on the Surfside property, but also on the Gables property. And so we put together a proposal for the zoning board that would have allowed hotels to actually be built by special use permit in the Old Harbor Commercial District. We started out with a proposal for 20,000 square feet tracts of land, went to 30, and it finally ended up with the proposal before you that allows the construction of hotels on 40,000 square feet piece of land in the Old Harbor Commercial District. The reason essentially that we stepped it back was that there was concern on the planning board against unintended consequences. So by taking the lot criteria that we've proposed and putting them in the 400 sections of the zoning ordinance, they're criteria that must be conformed with, that can't be varied by the zoning board. And by raising the size of the lot, we limited the possibilities of further hotel development in the Old Harbor Commercial District. We think that's a good first step. And I have Rod Blood here from our hotel people who can explain to you what they hope to do on Block Island and their experience on other islands.
Okay, I'll recognize Robert Blood. If I could just ask you, I will point out that we do have the annotation of your letter. I believe we have from you in pretty great detail. So if you could, again, keep it as short as you can, but still get your point across, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, Unmuted, councilors. It's nice to see you. Thank you for hearing us. I will be brief. Ken, I think that our letter articulated fairly well our intentions here. We've been fortunate enough to be part of development on 2 other islands prior to coming to Block Island, and have had positive experiences with those developments. I think that I should start out by saying that we've very much enjoyed our time on Block Island so far. We successful season last year, and I hope that all of you feel that we've been good neighbors. It has been an interesting summer so far, but we've seen a very consistent level of interest in our guests coming to Block Island, as much as we did last year. And whether we view that as a good thing or a bad thing as a community, I think it does say that regardless of economic circumstances and health circumstances, Block Island will continue to be a very strong destination for visitors. Our interest is in developing more hotel rooms. Even in this current time, we're nearly 100% occupied for the month of July and bordering on 90% for August right now. And as we do hotel rooms, we believe, as we have on Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, we can help to extend the shoulder seasons and make it possible for other businesses to create a greater economic impact on the community, all at the same time as we're not increasing the impact on the roads by bringing more cars, because our length of stay, our average length of stay is, and most of our guests are not car drivers, they're pedestrians. I think I'd like to leave it at that, unless, and I'll certainly be here for questions if you have them.
Great, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on this issue at this point in time? Go ahead, Joe Priestley.
If I could, we also have Glenn Gardner, who was here, who was our architect, and I think he can explain to you better than anyone I know the reasons for why we want to create the accessory hotel room to go along with the hotel.
Okay. Hi, Glenn. I see you there in the corner. You can unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for having me. And as Joe has mentioned in his previous statement, what we're interested in is trying to keep with the comprehensive plan and provide an opportunity for hotel growth, not growth, but any new hotel to have an option of looking at an accessory hotel concept where it is a not necessarily in addition to the hotel, creating a larger massing, which is sort of not something we want to promote, but an idea of cottage type scale that is more consistent with the massing that you find on the island. So we presented three hypothetical site plans, and I don't know if you've seen those or looked at them in your material, but example 1 shows, and we're just using this, again, it's hypothetical. We're using the Gables site plan that exists now, and that building, that existing hotel has 14 rooms or suites. And if you move to hypothetical example number 2, you see what the requirement would be for complying with the zoning regulation, which would be a continuous corridor within the building. And so that would require a block added to the structure, which is shown in solid black to the south of the existing building. And that would obviously add to the larger massing of the structure. And so what we illustrate in hypothetical example number 3 is an alternative which would create more or less these cottage type style outbuildings that would be more consistent with the existing Block Island massing of structures in that vicinity, and would also break down the scale to be more human and smaller in essence. And so therefore, we propose that if we could have this as a consideration, it would allow us more flexibility in providing a scale, massing, and look that would be something that the historic district, I believe, would look more favorably on. That's pretty much my input on that.
Thank you, Glenn. A point of order on the indications on the diagrams. On each of them, it talks about accessory addition, 20 rooms. Let me get this straight. On example number 3, the total number of rooms, including the new accessory structures, would be 20. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And our illustrations are in color, so that black massing you talked about in the second one is actually red on our maps, just for clarification. So, thank you, Glenn. Do we have any questions or comments from the council? I'm sorry, Rich, did you want to speak, Rich? No, you okay? Okay. Any questions or comments from the council?
Not yet, Ken, for Andre here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Andre. Sven Reesum?
Joe, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page, right now, can you please confirm right now under the current zoning, none of these hypotheticals could be built? Is that correct? Or could a hypothetical 1 be developed? In other
No,
words,
under the current zoning, none of them could be built.
So right now you can't add, I'm really reconfirming what your letter said. You can't add to any hotel to expand room count, such as the 20 rooms built to the south.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Or anyone else? Andre, go ahead.
Ken, do we have anybody from the planning board here?
Allison Ring, I'm here, town planner, if you'd like me to discuss anything about the decision from the planning board.
There you go. Andre.
Thank you, Allison. Yeah, thank you, Allison. So could you just briefly touch on a split decision? And,
Sure.
you know, obviously this was thought about a lot at length, and, you know, I haven't seen a split decision from the planning board. So could you just get into that about how that may have happened and what the thinking was there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like you mentioned, it was something that was considered over several meetings. The decision was in February, and we even had a special workshop with the applicant to discuss it. The proposal had evolved, as Joe mentioned, during that time frame from some response from the planning board as far as, you know, minimizing that minimum lot size. So, you know, the memo lays out the planning board's review. There were, on page 3, really highlights some of the policy questions the planning board struggled with, the merits and concerns that the planning board had on the application. So as far as some of the policy questions, you know, the planning board asked the question, you know, does the town want to encourage additional hotel development on the island? And is there a need for hotel rooms additional? Would the proposed amendment have an impact on other permitted uses in Old Harbor commercial, such as residential. And if the town does find, the new accessory hotel use appropriate within this zoning district, what's the rationale going forward? Is it something that, is appropriate within other zoning districts where hotels are permitted? So, to summarize the merits, the planning board, some members that were in support of the application did find that hotel developments, are appropriate in Old Harbor because this is where historically, your hotels are located, and that's where, public water, sewer, and all your, your utilities and services exist. There's a potential that, increased density and development will encourage more guests to travel by bicycle and walking as opposed to car. And it may incentivize hotel owners to refresh their properties and, offer improved, tourism experience on the island. And then the increased pedestrian traffic, having more hotels, might that potentially, add to some business for the businesses in the shoulder season, and provide aesthetic improvements. As far as the concerns, there was a concern that it could potentially add traffic. There was a concern about this style, the accessory hotel rooms, the style of them not having an internal corridor could potentially mean, more of the guests will be outside and, walking outdoors between buildings, and therefore there could be an increased additional noise, that could impact residential abutters in the district. And I would say the majority of the concern would be related to, the unknown aesthetics of potential development. So certainly, some could be very fitting with the traditional vernacular of Block Island, but there was a concern that other hotel developments may end up looking, similar to a motel, something that the planning board, discourages, like not wanting multiple individual, identical cookie cutter type cottages, looking like a motel. And the planning board did request that there be a cap on the number of accessory hotel rooms. So there's that ratio in the ordinance, the 1 to 4, one accessory room for every hotel room, but the applicant added in the language that there be a cap of 6 total, even if the calculation were to be higher than that. So that's something the planning board had asked for during their review. And in regards to the comp plan consistency, there were differing opinions, of course. So the planning board members that supported the application said that it was consistent with the comp plan because it directs development and density in an area that's already developed, where development should be directed to into Old Harbor. And then the other members that had the concern felt that the inconsistency was in that it could impact the overall land use composition of Old Harbor. So meaning like their language within the comp plan that the island is seeking a more balanced economy and a year-round economy. So would additional hotel development impact that goal long-term if there were to be additional hotel development because of this ordinance change? Could that mean that the seasonality impacts from that? And I think that's partly the applicant tried to address that by decreasing the minimum lot size, as Joe said, going down to 40,000 square feet.
Thank you, Allison. Andre, do you want to follow up?
No, I appreciate your input, Allison. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robert. Hold on, Sven. Robert Blood, go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
I just wanted to make 2 quick points based on what Allison said regarding the planning board. And look buildings, HDC would still have purview over that. So I think that can be appropriately addressed. And then in construction, could assume new construction would be built to current building code and be year-round in nature. Rather, if you look at the SURF, the building's not occupied. It's never going to be open through the winter. But any new development that we do on the island, or any future developer would probably do, would be winterized and year-round. So I think that in terms of the economic impact and extending the season, I think increased or potential future development would benefit look for the island. So that's just my 2 cents.
Are you suggesting that the accessory structures that are going to be, I assume, small units, single individual or couples or small families, that, and I understand they're not to have kitchens in them, is that correct? And are they going to be winterized to the point of having their own heating systems within each building? Okay, go ahead, Rich. Rich Cooper.
Yeah, they will have their own heating systems. Actually, the Gables, the project we're doing now, is going to be fully not winterized, but it will be able to be used in the winter. There is a heating system in there, and any building that we do in the future will have a heating system as well for the winter.
Okay. Will these structures, will there be, obviously the footprints are smaller, will there be any height limitations on these? Joe Priestley?
Yeah, in response to the concerns by the planning board, accessory structures were limited not only by the potential number, based on the number of rooms in a hotel, the total number, but also the percentage of lot coverage, limited to 10% of total lot coverage, and limited in height to 25 feet, as all accessory structures are in the Old Harbor Commercial District.
Okay, so is the intention then, pardon my ignorance in terms of architecture, but is the intention then to have these single floor occupied, or is there a possibility for two-story occupation?
There's a possibility for two, and then you get into design issues, which would be subject for debate between the developer and the Historic District Commission to deal with the type of massing and the variations within the structures.
Okay. Thank you for that enlightenment. I see it now. I missed it on the original blush. I'm sorry. Further questions or comments? Sven Reesum, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And this may be for Joe or anybody, in the proposed amendment to the zoning, it says in no event shall there be more than six accessory hotel rooms for any hotel. In all the hypotheticals, we were talking about 20. Where am I not?
Well, what you have is you limit the number of accessory hotel rooms based on the number of rooms in the hotel proper, if you want to call it that way. So if you had a 20-room hotel proper, you're limited to 1 accessory room for every 4 rooms. So you'd be limited to 5. Not until your hotel reached 24 rooms would you be able to go to 6. And above that, you couldn't, no matter how big your hotel room, you'd be limited to 6 accessory buildings.
And Joe, for the hypothetical examples, everything was in 20 rooms. So is that just sort of so hypothetical? It's 3 times what would actually be permitted?
Yeah, with a 20-room hotel, if there were 20-room hotel, you could add 6 rooms onto the main hotel. So so hypothetical number 1 could happen. But if you only had 14 rooms in the main hotel, which is what is currently in the Gables, you'd only be able to add 3 accessory rooms.
And then lastly, just to make sure we're on the same page, if I were to look at a hotel here on the island, and I'll look at the 1661 and what's normally called the Laundry, I think it's called the Adrian Room now. Is that in essence a similar kind of example that we're trying to get through as an amendment?
That the 1661 is the perfect example of what a hotel with accessory hotel rooms could look like. You have the main inn. Well, I think there are 9 rooms, but don't hold me to 9. There may be 10, there may be 8 in the main hotel, off a common lobby. You have what's called the laundry, which is a freestanding building with a single room in it. And then in Rick and Steve and Rita's house, ignoring the house, you have a small 4 rooms off of a common entryway. And then below in the front, you have 2 rooms that would be classic accessory hotel rooms where you walk around underneath the building and they have separate entrances below the house.
Thank you. Martha, did you have something?
I did, but I think it's been answered.
Okay,
I did want one clarification on this.
go ahead.
The what is the current standard for a hotel lot size in the Old Harbor Commercial District?
Joe Priestley?
You require 40,000 square feet of land for an existing building to be turned into a hotel. To create a new hotel, you require 80,000 square feet of land.
And so we would be going to,
We'll be going to 40,000 square feet for, without regard to whether there's a building there or not.
okay. And that's a whole, that's fundamental. What we used to call a Block Island acre
Exactly.
or a zoning acre. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Andre Bujo, go ahead.
Thank you, Ken. So your narrative, you say it, you're talking about, encourage, people might come out, encourage them walking in town and whatnot. I certainly understand that, and that on paper sounds great, but, people do bring cars. So, I mean, is there provisions from enough parking for the rooms that you're going to have there? That would be one question I would have. And I'll stop there. I guess I could say the other one too. And it's just, do any of these buildings, would they include employee housing? Because we know how much an issue that is for workers. So those would be my 2 questions, be parking and employee housing.
I'll
Or are
answer
these strictly
parking, and I
housing?
think Rob can answer employee housing. Parking, we have kept the existing parking requirements for a hotel. We've not changed those. So those do not change. Hotels still require parking, and they require it in the same amount as you've required for the last 30 years.
So
Robert, hold on, Andre. Robert, did you have something you want to add? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm managing this on my phone and my computer because I have a spotty connection. But we are, as Andre, we are building on the back lot of the Gables a staff housing barn that will accommodate our staff. So it'll be new construction, accommodations, overall development of the 3 parcels that we have.
thank you, Robert.
Excuse
Appreciate
me?
that.
I
Martha?
have a question about that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh man, I've got an echo. That's not relevant to this application, is it? The affordable, Helps Quarters?
Technically, it may not be, Martha. In other words, you've got hotels, but employee housing is obviously a concern. And it's a concern the planning board has said it should address, which I know the council has urged it to address. And we started out trying to figure out a way to address it for our particular properties, and ended up just working within the existing ordinance to create separate affordable housing and separate employee housing for the LARC employees. Is it something the planning board should still be looking into? And should they creating a separate use called employee housing? They absolutely should be. I think we had enough on our plate trying to deal with the hotel and providing housing for our employees to not to be in the position to take on the overall global issue, which really should extend beyond the Old Harbor Commercial District into the other commercial districts as well.
Andre's
Okay,
question.
thank you. That wasn't my point. My point was that the Gables illustration, which are attached to this application, are not before us. That's simply an illustration.
Right, but
That's not what we're asking on.
if I may, Martha, Andre's question was specific whether or not these accessory structures would be used for employee housing. So I believe that was what was being asked.
Well, no, he was asking if they were required, and that's not what's before us.
I was just asking about employee housing in these new structures, but that's okay. And parking as well. My question has been satisfied. I thank you both for answering.
All right, thank you. Other questions or comments from the council? Any further comments? Sven Reesum. Sven, you're on mute.
Sorry, Joe, I know you talked about it during the public meeting for the planning board, but at 40,000 square feet for the commercial or Old Harbor, how many hotels are now possible?
We have a sketch that shows that there are 3 lots that contain 40,000 square feet on which a hotel could be developed. There are other lots which mostly are along the water side of Water Street, or the church and the sewer plant, which, although they have 40,000 square feet, aren't ever going to be developed as hotels. So we see 3 potential hotel sites in Old Harbor Commercial.
Do you remember where they were, Joe?
I do. One is the Glen property at the corner of Chapel Street and Old Town Road. That's about a 3.2 acre piece of land with about approximately an acre in Old Harbor Commercial. And actually, that's a lot that with that amount of land could be developed as a hotel already. The other one is the triangular lot at the corner of Spring Street and High Street that attaches to the Manassas Hotel. That is, I think that lot's about 1.1 acres, so it's a separate freestanding lot. And the last is the Surf side, where we have an existing, I think, 14-room hotel, which could be expanded. That's it's to the, as you go in the driveway to behind the Surf, it's the land is up to the left, and then there's a building currently right on Dodge Street.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Chris, do you have anything? Any questions?
No, thank you.
All right.
I'm just
Ken,
I'm just wondering if there's any public comment out there yet on this.
Yeah, I was going to go around that. Any public comment? Anyone have any questions? Molly, do you have anyone sending anything in to us?
No, you saw the email from John Warfel earlier today. I can read it to you if you like.
Would you please? Yeah.
Proposed amendment to Town of New Shoreham zoning. Dear Town Council members, in reference to Section 202, accessory hotel room, Section 311, adding Section 407C, I am not in favor of adding this amendment or any other amendment that will increase the density of the commercial zone. Sincerely, John Warfel, Duntown Road.
Okay, thank you, Molly. Any further comments or questions?
This is Kristen Bauman on High Street. Hello. I am also against this amendment. I just don't even know how it got this far. I'm curious as to the premise of why this is even being entertained. I see this as when, you know, they bought this property, these were the rules, and now they just don't want to play by the rules. And so they're asking you to change them. And I take offense to that. We have long planned zoning, long planned planning, boards and commissions that work hard to maintain the character of the island. You have council meeting after council meeting every fall about the overcrowding of the island and the roads and the garbages. And so if you even entertain these ideas to pass this amendment, then I don't think you can, no more can you stand on the side of, yes, the island is too crowded. That's it. No more can you have that discussion. If you even consider this, then that's it. Then you have now gone to a place where, yes, you have to tell the voters and the people and the residents and the visitors, yes, it's too crowded and we're going to make it more crowded, because that's what we've done tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Does anyone have any other comments on this item? Or any retort they'd like to make? Joe Priestley, go ahead.
I'd like to say, Ken, that when we drafted this amendment, we drafted it in conformance with the comprehensive plan, that the comprehensive plan encourages the use of the Old Harbor Commercial District for development. It encourages the expansion of the shoulder seasons, and it encourages uses smaller in scale within the historic district. It also encourages uses that will provide pedestrian use of the Old Harbor Commercial District. So I would think that that we see this amendment as being entirely consistent and in furtherance of the comprehensive plan and correcting a flaw in the comprehensive plan that didn't allow one of the principal uses that you look for in the Old Harbor Commercial District to be developed there.
Thank you, Joe. Glenn Gardner.
And I just wanted to add on to what Joe's just mentioned. And I believe when you look at what the impact is, what we're talking about in the few properties that are really eligible, I think the overall impact is, I won't say insignificant, but not really noticeable, I think, when you finally look at the numbers.
Thank you, Glenn. We'll point out that in the on page 3 of the brief we got from the planning board, it did talk about the historic use of the Old Harbor Hotel development, encouraging of guests to travel by bicycle and walking, incentivizing hotel owners to refresh their properties, which many hotel owners have done, and it definitely is an improvement. Increasing development in Old Harbor would increase pedestrian traffic for the businesses potentially in the shoulder season and would offer aesthetic improvements in the most visited part of the island. I see we have someone has put up a visual for us of the map. Okay, who's doing this for us, please? Was doing it.
Amy's helping you out with that.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you. Just I think we've seen it. Thank you very much for putting it up, though. If we need to refer to it again, we will. Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the council on this? If not, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Andre. Any further discussion or comment? All those in favor? Andre?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative. Motion is carries to close the public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to make a motion? at this time.
A question, do we need to vote on this tonight or can we delay the vote till next meeting?
Let's see.
You have a point of order, Molly, do you have a point? I believe we can wait if you want to, unless someone wants to make a motion.
Make a motion.
I'd like to kick that to the attorney, Mr. Landry.
Joe Priestley has agreed to extend the time for action on this. It already would have passed, but in view of the events of the past several months, that time has been extended out, and I think it would be up to the applicant to indicate whether they'd be willing to extend it further.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I apologize. I apologize for not identifying you, Bill. Attorney Landry.
Ken,
Yeah, go ahead, Chris Will.
what purpose, Sven, why do you want to extend it?
Purely a question.
Okay.
I'll make a
I'm
motion.
sorry, I didn't
Go
get that
ahead.
answer.
Go ahead, Mark.
I said,
I didn't hear what Sven said.
I just said it was purely a question of timing. I don't want to extend necessarily.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application of 54 Dodge Street, Block Island OpCo LLC to amend the New Shoreham zoning ordinance, adding a new definition of accessory hotel room to section 202 and adding a new use to 312E and a new section 407C standards in the Old Harbor Commercial District regarding the development of hotels.
Second.
Seconded by Andre. Further discussion on the council. All those in favor, Andre?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Chris Willie?
I am not.
One no. Sven Riesum? Sven Riesum?
I am not.
Martha Ball?
Aye.
Martha votes in the affirmative. I vote in the affirmative also. Motion carries 3-2. Thank you all for your involvement, and I thank the planning board for their many hours and consideration on this. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is receive and act on a resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds in order to take advantage of lower interest rates, which are currently prevailing. I will ask Amy Land to come on and give us a brief synopsis of what we're looking to do here. Good evening, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you. How are we doing?
Good. What we're doing here is looking to refund a bond that was issued originally in 2010. The original principal amount was $3.44 million, and it covered renovations to the North Light, a partial covering of the renovations to Old Harbor, and the acquisition of Plat 6 Lot 147. There's about $2 million outstanding, and we have an opportunity to refinance that bond to save interest. We're looking at about savings of about $20,000 a year, which isn't huge, but since we're going to market anyway with some other issuances, it makes sense to take advantage of. Every little bit helps.
Absolutely.
So about 200, yep, about 200, $250,000 over the remaining 10 years of the loan.
Savings.
Savings, yep.
Great. Any questions for Amy? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to authorize the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Andre. Amy, do you need me to read the entire resolution? No.
No, I don't.
Okay, great. All right, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, Andre?
I'm in favor. Aye.
Thank you. Chris, Willie,
Aye.
Ben Riesum?
Aye.
Martha Ball?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Amy, for your hard work as usual and saving the town some money. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to discuss and act on possible amendment to the emergency ordinance 2 of the town of New Shoreham adopted May 27, 2020, pertaining to communal housing and other issues during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think we agreed to put this on each agenda in case something came up and needed to be addressed. Does anyone have anything specific they want to address in reference to this item this evening? Martha, do you have something?
Can we get an update an update on the weekend for Wednesday? I sent that out late this afternoon. I think we need to talk about the weekend with the chief of police. That's obviously not for tonight, but.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I didn't see my emails this afternoon. I'm not sure if we can get it on for Wednesday night. If we can, we'll certainly get it on for the very next meeting. But we can do what we can. Jim, do you want to add something?
Technically not part of this agenda item, Ken, so.
Right. Okay. That's Martha, we will follow up on it though.
I guess that's what I would say is I can have a communication with Martha based on a number of things that happened this weekend.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions pertaining to the ordinance or comments?
Just there.
Go ahead, Andre, please.
Yeah, and thank you, Martha. I did see that request come in, and I think we should all have it. We do want to have a discussion about that. But to let the public know that we are still constantly in contact with our state partners on this, and the weekend was different, and I look forward to having that discussion on whenever we can. But I did have a question about the masks. Bill, is Bill here? Bill McComb, EMA?
Actually, Andre, that we have, that looks like that's going to be on our next agenda item if you want to wait for that.
Yeah, I know. I always get confused with both of these on the agenda. And
right.
Okay,
But if you'd like,
that's fine.
we can certainly move right on to it. That's fine.
If anybody doesn't have any other comments on the next item.
Anyone have any? Go ahead, Andre.
Is Bill McComb here?
I was muted. I was
Oh,
muted.
I am, Andre.
Hold on, let Martha go.
No, I just wanted to make again the point that I made last week, because I just don't think people are getting it. And there's I don't know where this fits into any of this. The change, the moving target, that is the quarantine for out of state and which states, when people come from states that have hit a certain threshold, it seems to change every day. It's on the Department of Health website. But is the state flagging this? I mean, there's a form on their site that people are supposedly supposed to be signing if they come into the state. But does somebody at Green check on these? Does somebody at other airports? Is there any follow-up on this anywhere? It looks good, but is it actually happening? Because people don't seem to be aware of the fact that it's even in place. Had some experience with that this weekend.
Right.
Just with conversations.
Jim Kern?
And the conversations that I've participated in with the state officials, the directive relative to quarantine is on the honor system. But I can check and make sure. I don't believe, Martha, there is the kind of checking that was happening at Green back some number of months ago. We know that there isn't any on the interstates or on the Newport Bridge as there were months ago. So the indication is that it's a guidance, and it's on the honor system, identifying states that are in kind of a high increase area.
But if I'm in, I guess my question is, if I'm in Texas, and or I don't even know if Texas is on the list right now. If I'm in Florida, I don't want to pick a state, one of those southern states, and I'm traveling to Rhode Island. I have to at some point know that this is now in place in Rhode Island, and how do I even learn that, other than making the effort to look it up myself? Are travelers doing that? Or are they just getting the heck out of where they are? Which I'd be doing.
Okay.
I think it's a matter of a suggestion. The information is available in the news and the information is available on the Rhode Island website. And you're right, Martha, unless someone specifically looks for it, they're not going to be aware of it. That's just the nature of the way. Go ahead.
Okay, I said this last week. We've got to get this information out somehow. I don't know how to do it. The state is not doing that great job for us, clearly. I'll say it.
Okay. Dan Reesum.
I agree a lot. I agree a lot with what Martha's getting at, and that is that, DBR and a few other organizations seem to be very good at saying things, but getting the information out or following through doesn't seem to be a forte at this moment. And so I guess, Jim, is there a way that, or have you sort of set up a process where we can try and sharpen that up with DBR, or some tools and vehicles to actually both notify people about quarantine, like Martha talked about, or even just compliance?
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
I've been in contact with the director over the weekend, and will be over the next some number of days this week. And I think we can put together a kind of a communication protocol that where we can share information a little bit better. Spoke with Andre today about masks, and there were some questions coming from the state officials about masks and the masks that they provided and where they passed out. And then there were some other interactions with DBR this over the weekend with compliance of businesses, and we spoke about this at the last meeting a little bit. Their compliance checks and that sequence. So I want to put some effort into that, communicating between the two groups, and also I think we could still use more signage, kind of a similar point to what Martha's making. My assumption is that when you get off the plane at Green, there's information. There are ways that they are informing people that the governor's order requires quarantine. I can't verify that, but and we have similar circumstances here. We've done an okay job with the signage, but I think we need to continue. It's a long summer, so I don't have a specific plan with DBR yet, Sven, but that'll be part of this week's communication with them.
Thank you. Timing is of the essence, obviously. Thank you.
Seems to me the onus would be on the state to, if they are going to be changing the regulations in terms of coming into Rhode Island from other states, that any updates should be produced and sent to us in a timely fashion so we can pass it along. So I'm sure you can probably mesh that. Chris Willie, go ahead.
As I understand it, the responsibility to know the rules is on the traveler. And the state does have signage at bus stations and airports, et cetera. So I don't know what the expectation is going to be on the island. I mean, I don't know where this is going. And so whenever there's discussion, I want to be very specific, like signage is signage, but if we're going to start IDing people and pulling them aside because they have a license from Louisiana or Texas, then I mean, that I want to know ahead of time, because right now travelers are supposed to, it's the responsibility of them. And I don't want to put the responsibility now on our businesses to start IDing and carding people to find out where they're from. So whatever plan is the state has, I think we should go along with it. But I don't think we have the mechanisms or the manpower to do anything beyond that. So whenever the
If I may?
discussions, whenever we have the discussions upstate or with DBR, can we have at least some specifics of what we're talking about? You know, as far as, is it on the education forefront, which I think is what's lacking, is just the education forefront. Martha, go ahead, sorry.
Thank you, Chris. Go ahead, Martha.
If you go to the DOH website, you'll find a form that people are supposed to be filling out, not when they get to Block Island, when they get to Rhode Island. And by the time they get here, it's way too late. And it's right there. Either they've been tested or, and I can't remember, there were a few different things. It's all right there. There's this form. But is anybody actually filling this form out? Does this form exist anywhere other than for somebody who's trying to find it on the DOH website? On your reopening Rhode Island, you know, you have to go through the lake. You kind of have to know the language to be able to get there. And that's my concern, because honestly, by the time you get to Rhode Island, it's too late. And this is, I mean, it's all states' rights is all good and well until you have a pandemic and everything kind of just falls apart because people are not communicating between, among the states. I obviously we can't solve that. I just think the information has got to really be pushed out, that there are things to check before you come to Rhode Island. Not Block Island, Rhode Island.
That's a point well taken, Martha. Thank you. Other comments or questions on that item, or did you want to follow up on masks, Andre?
Just that apparently our mask program was quite successful. And I think we got, is Bill still here, correct?
Bill McCall?
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Go ahead, Andre.
Thank you, Bill. So last meeting, we got, you know, we got sent out 1,000 masks. I'm just wondering what happened. Like, did they get all passed out? Do we need more? I think what I'm getting at is that I think the program was successful, and I think we need to figure out a way to keep it going, but that would require manpower. And I'm just wondering how that program went this week with the 1,000 that we were given, and like I said, if we need more, or where those are, or what happened with all that.
Yeah, I'd have to check with the chief. I haven't spoken with him today to see the outcome of how the weekend went with his guys passing them out. But when people are getting on the boat, they have to have a mask from Point Judith to get on. If they don't have one, they can get one for a very nominal fee, or we'll make sure they have one. So everyone coming onto the boat does have a mask. As we all know, once they're on the boat, it's on the top deck and so forth has been our challenge. So they've had them getting on. The same thing when people were leaving, and I was down there myself over the weekend. As they come up, we don't allow them on the boat unless they have a mask on. I have to say, certainly Saturday, 4th of July was, every 4th of July, we have that same crowd, young crowd and so forth. There were less numbers because we were bringing less people on the boat and so forth. But when you flip over to Sunday, which would probably be the norm of the type of people that are coming out, there were a lot more families and so forth. It seemed as those people were going back, there were the majority of them just had to be reminded, hey, to pull their mask up and so forth, going onto the boat. They certainly had them with them. So if they came over with them, had them when they were going back, I think that anyone that needed one that would be given out, certainly from the ferry perspective, we were doing pretty well from that end of it. As far as like people in town and with the shops and stuff, I think we'd have to probably poll some of the businesses and see how they made out as far as people going into them, so forth. But I think, I think that program of having them available and passing them out, even if someone doesn't need one, I think that constant reminder. I know the police department had asked us at the ferry if we could put up the sign, the billboard, we could come off that the face masks were required. That was up and rolling. I think that worked out well. So I think any reminder that's done in a positive way, educational way, I think is a good thing. So, but I'll get an update from the chief and get that to all the council.
Yeah, like I said, I just, in speaking with some of the partners upstate, word spread, the state is actually doing that. They're at the beaches all weekend. They found it to be very, a positive endeavor. Like people were, nice about it, requesting masks, taking them when, if they needed them. So if we could try to figure out as a council how to continue that outreach, I think that would be very helpful, in a non-confrontational way. And that and more signs. But again, we can discuss this week, as the week goes on.
Thank you, Andre. Sven Riesum?
Yeah, Andre, just to be clear, when we initially got, I think, 2,000 masks from the medical center, after we distributed a lot that first weekend, they then were distributed by the CSOs. And I believe they right now have those, I know they have those masks. And I think what we need to do as a council in the meeting this week is impress upon the chief the benefit of that CSO program, having them meet, hand out, interface, and that continues. If it can't continue, then we need to go to another plan. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and that's what I spoke with Jim about earlier on. Like, the CSOs, like, where are they passing them out? Are they at the boat? Like, I think if we just, it's a good outreach plan, and I think it's working. I think it's doing what we can do right now. And personally, I've noticed, I didn't go to town much this weekend, but I think the whole mask thing, I've noticed in areas that it's getting better. There's more compliance than when we first put it out there. And I think it's just, like Martha says, a lot of people, they just don't know what the rules are. So I think if we put, we got to put the notice in their face, town ordinance, I think that's doing what we can do. And hopefully we can do more. But right now, that's my input on that.
So I guess what it comes down to is getting back to your original question was the supply, whether or not whether we think we're going to be able to get a sound enough supply going forward to be able to continue the program on a weekly basis.
Well, Sven said that he got 2,000. He probably didn't really use 1,000. The state sent out another 1,000. So was Matt doing the math? I think we're sitting on, if they didn't pass them all out this weekend, like I said, I just don't know. Right. But it'd be good to know in case we need more and we want to keep it going. So we don't want, I personally don't want the supply chain to stop. So if we have to ask for more, we should be ready for that.
That's a good point. Yeah, thank you. Sven?
Is Dr. Warkup on? Because he was the one who got the 2,000 first ones, and I know that he's getting a supply. I just don't know if he's on the phone.
I was looking for him earlier. I think he dropped off.
Excuse me, this is Molly. Dr. Warkup had to go on a call.
Okay.
I just texted him to see if he could come back on.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further on that?
Could we leave this open for when he comes back?
Hold on a second. Cindy Lasser, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Oh, hi. I was going to say that we have been giving away masks also in our office. We still have masks left from the 10,000 that were distributed to businesses. Not everyone has picked them up yet. And so whenever anyone comes in, we give them a mask. And I have to say, I was surprised by today how many people do not have masks, and we're just casually walking into our office without masks, just completely uninformed about the mask, it seems. And then to the other point about the out-of-state folks, I fielded quite a few calls over the weekend about that, where people are aware that they are in a targeted state and want to know the rules. So they're trying to do the best that they can, and we do mention to people often when they call, where are you calling from? Most of our calls, as usual, are from Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. So it's sort of rare that we're getting, the targeted states, but that's sort of the scoop from us. But I really feel like people in town, we can do a lot better with the masks. Just lots and lots of people without them.
Cindy, what do you think is the explanation for that? I mean, as Bill McComb said, they have to have one to get on the boat, and then there's a big old illuminated sign as they're walking off the boat. How can they be walking in, do you think, and not be aware that they need to have masks on?
I don't know. I just don't think they care. I think that they think that they're here and they don't have to. They're just on vacation. And it's a lot of families. It's a lot of groups together without masks. The kids, the father, the mother, nobody's got masks. They just are,
So
you
they're
know,
basically,
in their,
it sounds like they're making the choice to ignore it.
yeah. I want to say that generally, I thought the 4th of July crowd with us was great. Really, really good crowd comparatively.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was a nightmare. Am I the
So
only
did
one who
I.
thought it was a nightmare?
Martha, go ahead.
Well, I'm downtown, as you know, but I'm not. I don't think I'm not on the busy corner. A lot of the traffic that gets off the boat goes either straight for Ballards or straight toward the beach, in the other direction. But the afternoon of July 4th, late afternoon, it was probably as bad as I've seen it. The last time it was that bad was when they had the Springhouse concert so long ago, and there'd be this massive exodus to the boat. I mean, just as far as numbers, as far as people, except the people were a lot ruder, a lot more inebriated, a lot. I mean, I work for Malcolm Greenaway. I don't have a problem with people coming in without masks or being belligerent. That's not the kind of. We just don't attract that kind of. They're not going to bother to come into a place like Malcolm's if that's what the attitude is. But I know some other people who very much surprised me have had some problems with people not wanting to put on a mask. And I think, honestly, guys, like Cindy said, you get here, you think you've kind of done the thing, you put it on to get on the boat, you did your thing, you're here. You know, as Jim said this a couple of weeks ago, you're at the beach. And honest to God, I don't think it's anything more than that. I don't think it's anything nefarious. I think there is, there's some denial, of course, and there's some invincibility, but a lot of it is just plain, I'm at the beach, I'm in the open air. I don't need it. Even though there's somebody, 3 feet away from me, that doesn't really count because it's summertime, That's what we're combating here. We're trying to combat.
Right, and to follow up on that, I mean, that's why it's so important for the, and especially in the downtown area, for the businesses and all the restaurants and whatnot, to, I think to insist that their patrons obey the mask ordinance, and even inform people if they're not aware of it, and hopefully bring them up to speed. And so the next place they go into, maybe they'll put it on before they go in. And the signs obviously can help on the entryways, and we have the plastic shield up. We have a small sign on that right as our desk. And so I think as much it behooves us to pass that information along and to set a good example as much as we can out there. Anyone have any other comments or questions?
No, Ken, I just like to input, keeping it in perspective, it was 4th of July weekend. It's usually the worst we have. But I heard from many corners of our community that we simply can't have another weekend like we had last weekend. So public know that we know that. We're going to talk this week with our partners upstate and amongst ourselves at a meeting. And I think we can just say we'll continue to do what's best and whatever we can do at this point. And that's, it's pretty much all I need to say on that. But it was the 4th of July weekend. It was something to behold.
Thank you, Andre. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll move along. The next item on the agenda is to receive and act on the communication from Dr. Peter Patton, University of Rhode Island, Scott Cummings, the Nature Conservancy, and Lisa Nolan, Southeast Life Foundation, requesting special temporary permit for 2 20-foot bird tracking telemetry towers at the Nature Conservancy property at Plat 12, Lot 14, and Southeast Life Foundation property at Plat 8, Lot 1.
Hi, everybody. This is my 3rd time I've had this request. We're going to try some new technology. We'll just have the towers up for about a week, maybe 2 at the most for this year.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments? We do have the information that was in our packet on this proposal. Andre, go ahead.
Peter, Andre Boudreau here, Southeast. How are you? Nice to see you again. Could you just go through for the public and just let them know what, the information that these towers are tracking and whatnot?
Sure. So these are, these towers are designed, we put miniature transmitters on common terns, roseate terns and piping plovers, and we're trying to track their movements near the Block Island Wind Farm. Of course, the Block Island Wind Farm is a unique opportunity to have, since it's so close to land, we can really track, the goal we're trying to do is track the movements of birds near the wind farm and see how they react to the wind farm. And we found that, so for example, one of the largest tern colonies in Eastern North America is at Great Gull Island in Long Island Sound. That's where we tagged a lot of the common terns. And this last year, for example, of the 40 common terns that we tagged, 82% of them showed up off of Block Island. So there's a major travel corridor of birds from local colonies, from those colonies that go to stage on Cape Cod. So it's an important area for birds. And so we're just trying to get a hand on that in relationship to the offshore wind industry. And this technology that we're testing out this year, the idea would be that we could use this technology if and when other offshore wind facilities get built in Rhode Island Sound, then this technology could be used to look at the movements of birds in those offshore wind farms. We had a receiver on Block Island Wind Farm on turbine number 1 this last year, but unfortunately, due to some technological issues, that receiver failed. But the 2 receivers we used this last year at Southeast Lighthouse and Black Rock, they got a lot of useful information on bird movements.
Thank you, Peter. Is there a public website that people can get this information on the island or something like that?
I will send to you again, there's a report from the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management on a lot of the work that we've done, and I will send that link to Molly to make everybody aware of it.
That'd be great. Appreciate that so much. And it's a great project. I support that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre. Sven Reese, you have a question?
Yeah, just real quickly, and I think you've done this in the past, Peter. Maybe when you're out here, if we can ask you to commit to doing with Scott or the group, just a public presentation, because I think there's so many people interested in this subject and birding, a little bit to Andre's point, but if there's a way to have you come out and present some of this data as well as the last few years, I think you've done that in the past. It was very well received, and that would be great.
Yeah, I promised I'd do that last year too, and I'd be happy to arrange that with the group and give a talk whenever fits, wherever you think is convenient time. I'd be happy to do it whenever. I don't know what a good time of year you think would be to do it, but I'd be happy to do it.
Winter time, and you and Scott can do it, and I think it would be well received, like we discussed last year.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll make a motion for a special temporary permit for 2 20-foot bird tracking telemetry towers to be located at the Nature Conservancy property at Plat 12, Lot 14, and Southeast Light property, Foundation property at Plat 8, Lot 1, as requested.
Second.
Second by Andre. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor, Andre?
Aye.
Chris Willie?
Aye.
Ben Reese?
Aye.
Martha Ball? Martha?
I was blathering away with mute on. Full disclosure, I am on the Southeast Light Foundation board. Absolutely no financial impact one way or the other to me, and I'm voting aye.
Thank you, Martha. I vote in the affirmative also. Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Very good. Thank you very much, Peter. Good luck with it.
Thank you, Peter.
Next item on the agenda is to announce that we have vacancies on boards, committees, and commissions. We have a 3-year position available on the Board of Assessment Review, a 1-year alternate position available on the Rec Board, 1 5-year position, 2 1-year alternate positions available on the New Shoreham Sewer Commission, 1 5-year position, 2 1-year alternate positions available on the New Shoreham Board of Water Commissioners. We do have a note from the Water and Sewer Commissions dated June 8th. At the May 18th, 2020 meeting of the Sewer Commission, it was unanimously voted to recommend to the council that the current alternates, Sandra Finizia and Diane Haid, be reappointed to another 1-year term. It was further voted to recommend that Tom Doyle, a 5-year member, be reappointed as well. At the May 18th, 2020 meeting of the Water Commission, it was unanimously voted to recommend to the council that the current alternates, Sandra Finizia and Diane Haid, be reappointed to another 1-year term, and recommend that Tom Doyle, 5-year member, be reappointed as well. Sincerely, Susie Garno, District Clerk, Water and Sewer Commissions. I'll make a motion to reappoint the alternates, Sandra Finizia and Diane Hyde, to another 1-year term, and Tom Doyle be appointed to another 5-year term to both the Water and Sewer Commissions.
Second.
Seconded by Andre. Any questions or comments? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor, Andre?
Aye.
Chris Woolley?
Aye.
Ben Reesum? Aye. Martha Ball?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative. Motion carries 5-0. We thank everyone for their willingness to be able to serve again. The next item on the agenda, next 2 items on the agenda deal with the easements for Deepwater Wind and Narragansett Electric. Jim, we need to go into closed session on these?
I don't think we have anything. I tried to communicate this to the group earlier. I don't think we have anything of substance to discuss tonight. Given that we now apparently have a meeting for Wednesday, I'd like to keep these 2 on for that. We anticipated possibly receiving information from the other side. National Grid and Ørsted didn't receive anything of substance. I may have received a communication here just recently, but so I'd like to have it available for Wednesday. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
We
Andre, go ahead.
I don't know. I just I was hoping Dr. Walkup would be here with us tonight before we finish out our meeting, given the news of the day, but
I'm here.
He's not. So. Oh, there he is. Oh, good job. Thank you, Tom.
Andre, would you like to amend it? Would you like to amend it to ask a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask if we were going to do that, if we could do that after the actual item, but just want to amend the agenda to, to include update from Dr. Walkup, the current COVID situation on Block Island for discussion purposes only.
A motion by Andre. Second, I'll second the motion. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, Andre?
Aye.
Chris Woolley?
Aye.
Ben Reesum? Aye. Martha?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative. Motion carries. The amendment carries to amend the agenda for discussion purposes only. Go ahead, Andre.
Doctor, thanks for being here. I know you had to go away. Hope everything's all right there, but we have on the agenda every week now just a discussion on the emergency ordinance, and we know you had some news coming out of the medical center today, unfortunately, and I'm just wondering if you could update us on that, and everything related to it that might be of interest to the public, and we appreciate it.
Sure. So about 9 o'clock last night, we were here at the medical center, and we happened to go on to our Eastside Clinical Lab portal, which does our lab processing. And we identified that we had a positive COVID test, nasopharyngeal swab on a worker that we pre-tested for employment on the island. At that moment, I spoke with the manager of the facility and then the owner. I called Ken Lacoste to let him know, as the town council lead, that we had a COVID positive case on the island from a worker. I spoke to the DOH, spoke with the on-call person for them, and we coordinated with the owner of the facility and the DOH throughout the morning for contact tracing, and it's all going well. Currently, they enacted their COVID action plan, which worked really well. That particular patient is isolated now from the public and any other coworkers. Tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, we will be personally testing the remaining employees from that facility that was in close contact with that individual. The Department of Health will be out here in a pre-prescribed fashion at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to do asymptomatic COVID testing at the fire barn. That was something we had enacted as of last week. And so it just coincides very well with coordinating with DMAT team and Seema Dixit and Matt Vargas from the Department of Health. They will take their tests as well as our tests onto the boat tomorrow afternoon rather. And those will be processed tomorrow evening for the rest of those employees. And that person is quarantined until we know further.
Dr. Workup, thank you. What is the nature of the what's the nature of the process with the business itself? Is there any regulation in restricting them for activity until you get those tests back?
That's correct. Yep, the owner has been very amenable. Once we notified them last night, they closed their facility down. The typical cadence of that business is closed today, and they will remain in a closed fashion until we can get clearance from the DOH.
Fantastic. Thank you. Andre, do you have a follow-up?
No, just that, so the protocols are working that were set up. I know this is the first time they're working to your satisfaction. Everything's good. Just nothing.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think all the pre-planning worked. We scrambled the COVID action plan the moment we were notified. Well, we identified it. We notified the DOH. We're still working on some optimization of how that cadence happens, how we told the DOH and not vice versa. I think it was just that we happened to proactively look at the portal for a different reason, identified it, and then got everything in motion. So I would say, yes, I think it's a real success. The business owner has been extremely amenable. The COVID action plan, the isolation plan was put in place seamlessly, and the DOH will now take over testing going forward. They have been made aware very clearly by our office of the need for their understanding that the public may desire more asymptomatic testing versus just the hierarchy of EMS, first responders, et cetera. They fully understand that. They'll be planning that over the next several weeks. They have a schedule of patients tomorrow that they're going to test. They have a full schedule on Thursday. We've asked them to expand that schedule from 26 patients per session to maybe further more. And then they are going to hold spots for general community members, but I think that's going to be more of a phase 2 where get the cohorts of business and congregate living individuals that we have to get tested completely, and then open it up for free asymptomatic testing for the public. And we will continue to handle any symptomatic individuals here at the health center and then coordinate with the DOH. So symptomatic individuals, please contact us. Asymptomatic individuals, please go to the Crush COVID app or the hyperlink that is posted on our website and I believe the town council's website. Sign up for slots available for the asymptomatic testing provided by the state every Tuesday and Thursday.
And that, may I?
Andre.
Thank you, doctor. So that will be every Tuesday and Thursday every week now?
For the foreseeable future, we had planned out that probably for the next 10 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. I know I got on the site today and they filled up quite quick, both Tuesday and Thursday this week.
We're trying to encourage them to
I'm glad
expand the
that-
amount of slots.
Doctor, was the DMAT team just here for the weekend, or are they going to be keeping a presence throughout the week?
They were here for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but their Brooke Lawrence's team at DMAT will be the one taking the lead for the testing on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So they will stay, or they'll come back?
They'll commute each day. Come in on the Tuesday morning, leave on Tuesday afternoon, and vice versa on Thursday.
Okay. Sven, did you have a question?
Yeah, Dr. Workup, thanks. We had a discussion before about masks, and I had mentioned that the first round of masks received from you and Kira. And I just wanted to make sure that if we do need more masks coming up over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, that you're able to secure some, and if we give a bit of a forecast.
That's correct. Because we've been designated a respiratory diagnostic center, we can order masks twice per week. I go through Brooke Lawrence from DMAT, and right now, other than gowns, which seems to be in short supply, masking is not an issue.
And so do you have, if we did need 500 or even 1,000, you would have those on hand or at quick access?
Quick access.
Thank you.
And I guess for everyone's edification, Dr. Workup, could you briefly stress the importance of the mask wearing?
I think it's kind of more real than ever for us. I think mask wearing, social distancing, hand cleansing either through alcohol-based hand sanitizers or washing our hands is essential. I think this is a scenario that we've been planning for, hoping that it would have never happened. But now that it's here, I think our pre-planning has gone well. I think what the town council has done has been excellent. I think we have to just be vigilant.
Agreed. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Andre, go ahead.
Yeah, just a doctor, and what Sven just brought up. So I know the Rhode Island EMA was providing masks to us. Should we continue to ask them for masks, or should we get them from you?
It's the same group that we're going to get them from. We're happy to put in the order and just be the sole source of your masks. They've been very generous to us. If we need 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and now that they're coming on island twice per week, they'll just bring it with them. And we've already begun to have conversations that possibly we can do. And again, this is just in the pre-planning stages, potentially a walkthrough testing site where they bring in some of their trailers that they would use in a disaster management, where you can enter the trailer on one side and exit on the other side and just get the testing. And then just be a little bit more of efficient way of testing people. Right now, they'll be at the fire barn between 10 and 2 each Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay, because I did sign up. I just for point detail, I signed up for a test on tomorrow, and on their website it says the school, so it's at the fire barn.
It is at the fire barn. Yeah.
It's at the
They originally thought the school. There's a little bit of different departments that do the different parts of the app. They originally thought the school, Tracy Fredericks and everybody involved thought that the fire barn might be a better place where they originally did the first responder testing.
Okay.
And it's open air. They have plenty of room for people. Parking might be a little bit dicey, but generally it can be done in an open air environment. So it will be at the fire barn.
Okay, so if people do get on that Department of Health website and they see the location as the Block Island School, they should just check that. If they're on Block Island, go to the fire barn.
Correct. And I'll make sure that Matt Vargas, who leads that app and the testing team, I'll let him know that he needs to make that update on the location.
That's great. I have nothing further.
Dr. Workup, I would just mention that if they do find a problem with the fire barn location for any reason, that the secondary consideration might be town hall parking lot.
Okay.
With the limited work going on here, it might be a little bit more room for parking and make it easier to go in and out, that sort of thing. But that's just a thought.
Yeah, I think their biggest concern was inclement weather that we may get. So the fire barn gives us some shelter. And when they mentioned going into the school, I thought there might be a few extra legalities that we'd have to get approval to do, but the fire barn was a good location. But I'll give them that as a secondary location.
Yeah. Any further questions or comments for the doctor? Thank you for coming back to join us, Tom.
Sure, I'll be here.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Any further questions or comments? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Andre. All those in favor, Andre?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Aye. Martha?
Aye.
I approve also. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good evening. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, everybody.